Just think of the number of stories that are out there of businesses or celebrities or athletes who have ruined their careers because of a tweet,
Right.
because of one thing they said. It can go off the rails.
All right, welcome back to On the Verge podcast here at Daniel Stark. And we are thrilled today to have Rusty Surette, a absolute local celebrity here in the Brazos Valley, one of the most followed people on social media that I'm aware of anywhere in the region.
For better or worse, right?
For better or worse.
That's good, Rusty.
And
That's good.
Rusty is an amazing journalist. He's been in this market for so long. He's got a Texas Associated Press Freedom of Information Foundation Texas Award for investigative reporting. He's been nominated for several regional Emmy Awards, received multiple regional RTDNA Edward R. Morrow Awards, and the list could go on and on and on. And we are honored that you're here, Rusty, to spend time with Jonathan and I for the On the Verge podcast, where ordinary people get extraordinary results, and you're just one of those guys that is absolutely extraordinary. And we can't wait to just hear your story here. So welcome.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
And your
for being
setup
here.
I've been talking about the setup here. It's amazing.
Well,
so this
thank
is
you.
cool. Thank you.
This is, Jonathan and I are pretty new to podcasting. So
But we kind of go all in. When we decide to do something, we don't try
I
it
see
out.
that.
We just
we're just gonna
we dive in. So to have a news anchor compliment our little humble studio here is that's quite the compliment, man. I'll make sure the team.
And it's such a smart move. We were talking about podcasting, and that's a direction that people are going to get their information, their entertainment, to learn more about business and who you support out there in the real world. This is a little bit more personal. So I love the idea of podcasting. I think it's one of the best moves that you can make if you're in a business or trying to get your name out there, because this is really unlimited access that you can give to the people that are consuming what you're selling.
absolutely. And we love to have guests on here and just talk to them about their life. And you're one who can having a great opinion on podcasts, because it is social media, and you're a social media celebrity here, and a self-confessed junkie. I think since you have so many followers, I wanted to start with a day in the life of Rusty Surette.
Okay. I've often wondered this.
Yeah, so let's start with your morning routine. Tell us about a day as a journalist here and a social media personality here in the Brazos Valley.
Sure.
How does it start?
Like a lot of people, my day starts with me picking up my phone, and I know that's the most unhealthy thing that you can do. It's not great for your mental health. Mm-hmm. But one of the first things that I do in the morning is I pick up the phone, because I want to see the messages that have come in overnight. What are the headlines that I've missed while I'm asleep? And so I try to respond to the urgent messages and try to push out any breaking news. A lot of the stuff, it is kind of smoke and mirrors. There are a lot of things that get posted early in the morning. A lot of it's scheduled stuff. You can schedule things on Facebook and Instagram. And so there is some of that. But as soon as I wake up, I try to push out anything that's urgent that's come through. I then start my day, cup of coffee, answering some emails. There is a good hour and a half of my morning that is spent on my phone or on my laptop, and that's answering emails, direct messages, 5-6 different social media platforms, also while trying to get caught up with everything. So I've got a podcast in the background, TV's playing in the background, and I'm going through all of my websites that I like to just skim headlines. So it's, and again, I know this is unhealthy, but a good part of my day, Monday through Monday, I mean, it's weekends too, that I wake up and I need to make sure that I have a very good understanding of what's going on in the world.
Dude, you talk about hitting the ground running. That's like jumping out of bed onto a speeding treadmill.
It is.
That would overwhelm a lot of people. What time of day are we talking about, Rusty, though? How early?
6 o'clock, 5:30, 6 in the morning is when I get up. And that's not by choice. I have two Aussies. So they're the ones that are
ready
kind of
to go.
driving the time.
Yeah.
But I do that. I go to the gym. There's a lot of things that I'll do in the morning. And then my work day on paper is Monday through Thursday. So I go in at noon, I work until about 11 at night, and then I go home. But when I go home, it's immediately into bed. I don't scroll. I don't answer emails in bed. I really try to take that part of the day seriously for the mental health and blue light distraction. Everything else has to go off. So I end the day how I'm supposed to. It's the beginning of the day where, as you said, Jonathan, you hit the ground running and it's pedal to the metal until the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that's the successful people, which I consider you a very successful person.
That is an honor. Thank you.
They work 24/7, but it's not really work. And
Yeah.
I'm hearing that from you here, and I think that's a great message for younger people to understand is that you found something that you really love, obviously, and part of being really good at what you do is staying current on relevant events. You have to know what's going on. So before you don't start work till 11 or 12, but you're already
my
working
work day
right
starts
at the
at
beginning.
noon. On paper, I don't go into the office until noon.
Yeah.
But it would drive me nuts going into the office and not diving into the headlines of the day until 5-6 hours after I wake up.
Right.
But what a lot of people have to understand is and you're so right. It's what I enjoy doing. I love getting up and seeing what's happened overnight and pushing it out and being the first to break a news story in our area. I think that, and I have people all the time, well, you don't sleep. When do you rest? When you are passionate about something and you are doing something you love to do, it is not work. It is not, you're not forcing yourself onto anything that you're not enjoying. So it's easy for me, and I know it's not for everyone, to get up and pick up my phone and look at what's happened in the world, the good and the bad, and to take that, decipher it, try to put some context into it, and then push it back out for a local audience for them to understand. I enjoy that. And I enjoy the aspects of helping and if you're not loving it, then it's going to suck. And then it feels like work, and you're not going to wake up on a Saturday morning and want to go do that.
Yeah.
That's where you've got to make some choices.
Yeah. I was just going to, it reminds me of, it's maybe a little cliche, but people always talk about if you're doing something you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
And
there's so much truth to that.
There is. And I know so many people that'll stay up all hours of the night scrolling through, like for me, it might be bass fishing, forums and checking that out because I'm passionate about bass fishing. Danny's got some things he's passionate about, fitness and airplanes. And so to be able to find a passion that aligns with a purpose professionally really is an absolute blessing and honor. And I think now that's something that more and more young people are realizing they need to seek early out in their careers so that they can find something that they're passionate about. So it's fun listening to you share your passion for the news, and it makes sense that that's what you'd want to check first thing in the morning. So while it may not be exactly the most mentally healthy way to start your day, it definitely does sound like fun.
Yeah. We try to get coffee and sunlight.
There you go.
As soon as
there
possible.
You go. There you go. That's critical. I also heard you mentioned when I'm at the gym, and that's another thing. So you can't work like this with that much passion without recharging your body.
Oh, absolutely.
I heard you talk about sleep. So I want to touch on those real quick. Tell me about your workout routine. How much do you value sleep? Some of those other things, and even work in some food here. What do you do to keep recharged?
So I try to at least keep half of my day on the healthy end because when I do get to work, I'm sitting at a desk most of the day. There's not a lot of physical activity. I go to Gold's. I try to do 3 days of strength training, 2 days and when I say cardio, I mean like very light cardio. I'm not a cardio fan, but I love lifting weights. And I just started it's called Body 20 in College Station. That was a New Year's resolution where it's more one-on-one. And as I get older and then things start hurting, it's a little bit more difficult to try to be motivated to get into a gym and spend time when you've got so much on your plate. So having a monthly thing that I pay for, it's a little bit more of an incentive to get up, go, even on the days that I'm not into it.
Good for you.
My breakfasts and lunches are always pretty healthy. Where I fall is at work. I am one of those people that when I do get stressed or there's a lot happening, I crave the fried food. My Cajun roots kick in, and I make not so wise choices in the evening when it comes to dinner. If I can figure that out, then I'll be doing great. Yeah. But it's a balance. I really do try to start my day off the right way. Yeah. Both nutritional and physical activity. But man, when I'm in that office, everything kind of goes off the rails.
We all have our vices too.
And
I mean,
let me tell you, Taco Bell is my vice.
Oh,
that TV station being right down the street from a Taco Bell and a Dairy Queen is terrible.
Yo quiero Taco Bell. Good for you.
I used to love me some Taco Bell.
That is my vice right there.
Man. Rusty, I'll eat good during the week. My problem is the weekend.
I do better on the weekend because I have the time to go make cook up some salmon, cook up some vegetables. It's during the weekday when I've got a short amount of time during newscast to run out and get something.
Oh, sure.
And just my what's quick. Order something on the app, go through the drive-through, pick it up, and get
planning plays so much into that. It's so hard to get ahead on lunch. Lunch is my nemesis because if I don't, my wife, I'm blessed. She's taking care of me. She sometimes sends me with lunch. That's the only way I can eat healthy. Otherwise, I'm at a restaurant and eating way too much.
It's a struggle.
Yeah.
It's a struggle.
Yeah. So, no, I think that's fun to hear about your day. I'm going to add one more thing because I get to hang out with you at Be Remarkable a lot. So when we're side set, we're chatting. And one of the things that people wouldn't think about that you do that they don't have to do is you get a haircut every week because you're on camera. So you've got to have that hair high and tight.
I do because when it gets shaggy on the sides and the back, everything here up, I try my best to take care of. So
we're on the podcast. For those that can't see, he's talking about chest up, man. He's
chest
pretty
up.
Man. He's pretty
so
man.
I've got the moisturizing, teeth whiten, haircut. You gotta look good. It's it's television.
So you just have
medium.
this set appointment. I think you said it was like on Mondays or something.
So now it's on Fridays.
Oh, it's on Fridays
because I'm off on Fridays. So I go on Fridays. I get my hair cut. I try to I try my best to look good. It's
you're doing a good job.
Television, and again, as we get a little older, you gotta be a little bit more conscious about these things.
I don't, Rusty. As I've aged, I'll tell you my hair routine has become really quite simple. It's interesting though. I've been bald now for a solid 5 years, and yet I still shampoo and condition every day. True story. It's a habit. It's a weird. That's hilarious. Dude, it's a weird habit, and it's I don't know why.
Can I be a typical journalist? And I want to ask a question.
Okay, yeah, have at it.
Why is he on all the billboards?
Well, look at the two of us.
You're both good-looking gentlemen.
Oh yeah, the marketing company told me I had a face for radio.
That's not true either.
I'll tell you the true story. So when we started, 25 years ago, we're now in our 25th year as a firm. And when we started 25 years ago, obviously it was just Danny and I, no employees, no other attorneys working with us. And so we decided, because at that time, there was a little bit of disdain for lawyer marketing. And, we have, over our 25 years, always strived to make sure that our commercials are professional and that they communicate the importance of what we do as opposed to being silly and driving tanks over cars and things like that. But not all the lawyers have chosen to treat the profession with the dignity it deserves. And so we decided that we'd put Danny on TV as I was going to be most likely the one in the courtroom trying cases, and we didn't want the jury to be at all distracted by trying to figure it out if I was a good TV lawyer or a bad TV lawyer. And so that was the decision we made 25 years ago. And obviously, as the firm has evolved, it's pretty rare that I'm in the courtroom these days. We've got, 30-something lawyers working with us now. And so, but that decision.
So it was a strategic, almost marketing. And,
even back to the name, I kind of have an alias around here. I'm Daniel Stark. When I see people in the community, they often call me Mr. Stark or, hey, Daniel Stark. Oh, you're the guy Daniel Stark on TV.
When I moved here in 2015, I thought Daniel Stark was the person.
But it's a lot easier than Daniel and Stark. So that was kind of a marketing decision early on.
That's so smart.
Having Jonathan. Jonathan really, he's a much better trial lawyer than I ever was. And he's going to say, oh, I'm not in the courtroom that much. He did get a $41 million verdict just within the last what?
A couple of years ago.
No, it
18
wasn't.
months.
Oh, time flies.
Doesn't it fly?
does fly.
I think it's been 18
So
months.
he's still heavily engaged in that practice, but it was really a marketing decision, a business decision early on to do it that way, and so
it doesn't hurt that Danny's a good looking fella. So it was a good move.
I've always wondered that, because you talk about the other attorneys, and I don't think there's any here in town, but the ones that are in Dallas and Houston, and they're jumping on 18-wheelers and screaming hawks and hammers and everything else. How does it translate when they walk into the courtroom, or how are they?
Who knows? I've never watched one of them.
I've always wondered
I doubt
that.
they're trying cases.
'Cause,
I really doubt
they're
trying cases.
You are kind of putting an opinion into people's heads about who you are before you even go into that courtroom. So,
I mean, it obviously works because they keep doing it.
Yeah.
So from a marketing perspective, it must make the phone ring. But here at Daniel Stark, we're looking for clients who value health and vitality and relationship and the ability to do the things that they want to do.
Credibility,
more than
though,
trying to get a quick dollar.
You look at the commercials that you have, the marketing you have. It's choosing a credible law firm, one that shows the professionalism, the compassion, giving that industry the respect I think it deserves. So that's, anyways, not to get off track. Marketing is always big. Any business, I look at, how are you marketing yourself? Why did you choose to go this way? These colors, that sign, the name of that business. I'm always fascinated by decisions that are being made by business owners and entrepreneurs. That's why we choose the things that we choose.
Sure. Yeah. Perfect segue, Rusty. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think that's
did
perfect
he set it up?
Moving right into this, because a big part of marketing in today, in now and into the future is social media. It wasn't, I'd say, really 5 years ago. Lawyer marketing changed a lot, because back then it was, first it was, if you had a couple pages in the phone book, you were good to go. Mm-hmm. Maybe you had the front, the tip on. Remember that?
Or the back cover. If you were big balling, you'd get the back cover.
Yeah, you'd have the back cover. I think in town we had the back cover, the spine, the tip on, and a double page in the middle. So
if you had the white and the yellow pages, boy, you were really good.
Absolutely.
And then it was TV commercials where you're on the major networks, CBS, Fox, NBC, and that was pretty simple. Get some good. Like Jonathan said, we wanted good TV commercials that were respect the profession and try to set ourselves apart. But then came social media, and in this day and age, there's so many channels. Mm-hmm. It's not those 4 major network channels. There's all the social media channels, and this podcast. There's Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, endless. Twitter, X, et cetera, and it goes on and on. And so, the younger lawyers that are coming up, they are in a total different situation than Jonathan and I were in, because they can have a voice for not that much money. Mm-hmm. And so I want to talk to you about that, because you're really an expert in this. I mean, you live this day in and day out. You have, I think it was 139,000 followers on Facebook. I didn't check the other social media channels, but that's a lot. And I want to know your story about how you got into that, and then, what drives you and inspires you to just keep telling new stories and putting that. Just
Sure.
Let's talk about that for a moment.
Well, I think there's a parallel in the television industry of using social media to help push what we were doing in the traditional media. And when I came to Bryan College Station in 2015, I didn't have a Facebook account. I thought that I'm worried about my job. I'm worried about the TV product.
Yeah.
And our station, KBTX, really pushed each of the reporters and news anchors to have their own page, because the strategy was take our content from what we're pushing out on KBTX on TV and on the website. And maybe if somebody likes you enough, they'll follow your Facebook page, and you're also pushing out the content there. So it's more exposure, and it's free exposure. It doesn't cost to open up a Facebook account or X or Instagram or Snap or none of that cost any money. And it costs time, sure, but it's just extra exposure. So we started doing it, and all of TV land in radio and newspaper, that the idea was using social media as just another way to expose the online audience now to what you've been doing on the website and what are you seeing on the television. So our purpose was to drag people back to TV. Fast forward several years. Now,
how'd that work out?
Ask newspapers.
Yeah.
Now we have an industry that we're still using social media to make sure that we are reminding people that we're a television station, that we also have a website, but it is also part of the business. We no longer consider ourselves a TV station. We're a media.
That's right.
Media company. Yep. And that includes podcasting. That includes the YouTube and Facebook and everything else. What we have learned over the last years, because I started my social media pages just pushing out news stories. What is great about social media, but also can be risky, is allowing the curtains to be pulled back, and for your audience to see a little bit more about who you are, how the sausage is made, why we decide to do certain things, and we're able to do it quicker. And so we found that it's not to supplement what we're doing on TV, but on the newscast, we have so much time. There's very short amount of time to deliver a story, and there's a very little amount of time for you as a viewer to get to know me. Mm-hmm. On social media, there's unlimited time to where I can take a story, add as much context to it as I want, and push it back out to say, hey, what you saw on the TV, here's a little bit more of an explanation. Sure. You're also getting a chance to see who I am, or who your favorite reporter, or your favorite personal trainer, or your favorite barista, or your favorite whoever musician. You're able to see, what are they like at home? What are their pets? Mm-hmm. What are their favorite places to go eat? And the more we kind of toyed around with social media and made it a little bit more personal, that's when it starts taking off, because now we're giving people a chance to see something that you can't see on the website or on the television.
Yeah, but what about the risk associated with the fact that you're also giving them the chance to now engage? And so, I like with the news stories and things like that, you get a lot of comments going on, and maybe less so on the more personal stuff, but you're not just exposing this to a new audience. You're inviting them to participate in a conversation with each other, with you.
And it's great, and it's horrific sometimes.
Yeah.
You go there's good and bad. And I can't sit here and say, one, that I've got social media figured out. I appreciate all the compliments, but what I like about social media is we're still trying to figure it out.
Sure.
And learn what works one day is not going to work the next.
That's right.
What works on Instagram is a completely different audience than what you've got on X. And so you're having to you can take one thing and have to kind of mold it in 6 different directions to fit each platform. It's almost scientific. And the algorithms, when you throw that in, and then what audience are we going after a TikTok audience? Because that's different from your Facebook audience and your Nextdoor and your Reddit groups. Mm-hmm. So there has to be some labor and work put into it if you want to do it right.
Sure.
And the risk that you take, and where we are still learning, and I have had many days where I have stumbled, and what I have learned in my days on social media is when you mess up, the best thing you can do is get back on that platform and say, I messed up. Sure. This was a learning moment for me. Yeah. I have posted stuff on Facebook before I thought was a home run. It was not. And it was not well received.
Yeah.
And as much praise as that I can get on Facebook, and people go, "Oh, you're great. We love your news updates and everything else." You stumble, they're going to let you know fast.
Oh yeah.
And they're gonna tell you what they think of you. Yeah. And one thing I have to remind my friends and my family and everybody, Bryan College Station loves you. Not everybody's a fan. Yeah. And they're quick to remind you
that's
of that.
That's got to be a little hard emotionally for you.
There's some thick skin. I'm not talking about TV. If you're going to be on social media and you're going to engage and you're going to be posting stuff, you better be ready to hear all sides of it.
That's
the good and the bad.
Sure.
And if
so this is
pick and choose. You got to choose your battles. And that's kind of going back to what you do. Yeah, there's a risk. You're gonna. People are engaging, but when you post on social media, you're opening the door.
That's
and when
it.
you
You're
open
inviting
that door,
it.
You better be ready to hear it.
You said earlier, people want to know more about you. You talked about pulling back the curtain, and so you've opened your personal life to your audience,
which
to
when
some
I did
extent
that scared the heck out of me.
Yeah, but kudos to you, man. That was a brave move, and I know it took a lot of courage, not just for you, but for everyone affiliated with you. So it's good to see you be brave like that.
Yeah, people appreciate it. The big takeaway in social media and doing it as a person, not on the business brand, but when you go and you do it as an individual on your business account or personal accounts, authenticity wins the day.
Sure.
And if you are transparent with people, and when you mess up, you say you messed up. If you're sorry, say you're sorry. When you have wins, celebrate the wins.
Yeah.
What people I'll tap you guys on the back. What I think you guys do very well here, Daniel Stark, your commercials, the recent marketing thing you're doing, where I see you at the ranch, the boats, you're at the diners. It's authenticity. Like, that's who you are. So people are getting to see, you're pulling the curtain back a little bit, seeing who you are, not just in a courtroom in a suit, but who's running the business? What are you doing in the Instagram post and the Facebook where we see you at the meetings and you're all high-fiving each other? That's what social media is for.
Sure.
Yeah, I like to push out the news, and I like to keep people updated and informed on those social media channels. But I also want people to know, who are you getting your news from? And I'm not just the guy sitting on the news desk at 6 and 10 every night reading a teleprompter. I'm somebody I moved here to this community, and I'm invested here. I married somebody who's from here. I go to the churches you go to. I shop at the same HEB you do. My nephews in Navasota play on the same ball teams as the rest of you do in the same leagues. So I'm not just a newscaster. I live here, and I give a damn about what happens here.
Sure.
And I want this to be a great place because this is home.
Yeah.
So I hope that's what comes through on social media. And again, it's that authenticity, no matter what business you've got, showing that if I own a restaurant, let me see who's the cook. Mm-hmm. I'm more willing to go there now because I know it's Joe behind the kitchen doing the burger flipping than anything else.
This is the challenge for future business owners or current business owners that are not used to putting the extra effort. And I've always said, to any executive, any professional that have asked me, I said, they're like, how many hours do you work a week? I said, I'm always working. But it's not really work for me and Jonathan. I mean, we love this business. Sure. We love the various different aspects. Both of us have different, aspects of the business that we like. And it doesn't really feel like work. And so it just morphs into your family.
Because it's who you are.
Yeah,
that's it.
You're your own personal brand. And I try to remind some of our younger journalists who are coming into our newsroom, who say, man, I want the following you have. I want people to be coming to me with news tips and the breaking news stories and everything else. I said, well, you can't just work 9 to 5. You've got to be, this is just who you are. You do have to be a little bit of your job. So I hope it's a job you like.
It has to be.
Because you are a brand. You're a brand. And what we put out there on social media, and it's free. I don't understand why people don't do this. You don't have to have
I'll tell you
the
why
big
they don't
fancy
do it.
setup.
I think there's 2 reasons why people don't do it. It's one, what you said earlier, it's a lot of work.
It's work. It is.
And, not everybody, I personally just don't really have that skill. We have a great team here that, gets extra content, but I just went to Phoenix with my son and, I don't post stuff. I sent a picture to my wife. She posted it. So maybe somebody knows that I was there with him for his birthday, but I just don't think about it. And so that's extra work, and it's not part of my normal routine. So the other thing is the curtain.
Yeah.
They have to be willing to, reveal the rest of their life, and not everybody's comfortable with that.
And you don't have to. We have people I work with who won't show their kids on social media. That's fine.
Sure.
They don't want to show where they live. They don't want to show what they drive. Yeah. That's fine. I'm not saying you have to pull back the curtain on your whole life. You do have to have some boundaries.
That's sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Peace of mind. But to your point about you're not sharing, you're established though. If you're coming in though with a new business, new food truck, you're trying to get your career started as a personal trainer, and you're trying to break through, you're gonna have to.
You have to.
You have to be out there, because if I go and you're making a pitch, I had somebody the other week. He sent me an email. He said, "Hey, I'm a nutritionist. I want to help you out. I saw your post about Body 20, so I really want to help you with the diet stuff." The first thing I did is I Googled him. I went to go look on Instagram. What are you posting on Facebook? Where's your TikTok?
Yeah.
Like, I want to see what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And that's just, we are now in that society, and this generation that's taken over. That's just the first thing you go do, is you go look somebody up before you take on their services. Sure. I'm going to Google you, and then I'm going to go search you out on social media to see what you offer. I'm not saying it's a do or die for any business, but if you want to stand out, you're leaving money on the table if you don't.
Absolutely.
And for somebody like you guys who are established now, it's not. I don't think you have to, but somebody who is starting out.
Well, I'll tell you. I think we do have to. Honestly, I think it's important for established businesses to do, because I call it the chippers. The chippers. There are so many chippers out there, and so just take a new lawyer fresh out of law school. They could have 100,000 Facebook friends. Well, they immediately have a voice that they could share. If they could be if they're a good lawyer and they can tell the stories and the things that would draw people to them, well, they have a voice there. Whereas maybe they don't have the money to advertise all over all the networks and billboards everywhere, but they still are going to take.
It's still 100,000 people.
They're going to get some cases.
Yeah.
They're going to get some cases, and so. I think that everybody really has to put a lot of effort into it, and that's why Jonathan and I have invested in the studio and in the team. We have a team, I think, of 8 or 9 that are on our marketing team now internally, and we used to just be me, So we've really invested to try and bring in some younger talent that understands all of this a lot better and help us, get some stuff out there.
And Danny, I would say when we first started that, kind of my expectation or my hope was that we were going to be appealing to a new audience, different than our core group. But what I found really from feedback from people that I was close to is that even some of my own personal friends were learning more about me and what I was going on in my life because of the work that we were doing through the law firm, social media. So it's not just to introduce yourself to an audience that might not consume your media on, the major paid media channels. It's everyone is here.
It's fun to see.
Everyone is here.
Some of the posts I love most on your pages are when y'all are having fun at your meetings and showing, I know you had one recently at the Queen Theater, and everybody's in their seats and everybody's got their coffees and you're up speaking. It's a peek behind the curtain, and it's, so you're not selling me anything. I'm not scrolling through and thinking, oh, there's an ad. It's just neat to see. And it makes an impression. And that's all really you need on social media. You just want to remind people that you're there. We're here doing our job. I'm not trying to hard sell you anything, but here I am, and here's what we do. And that was such a brilliant post. I love those kind of things.
Yeah, well, good. Well, the team is here listening to you.
They're hearing it. So they're hearing the pat on the back.
They're hearing it.
Whoever made that post,
I did like the Queen.
Kudos out there.
I did like the Queen. We had our lawyer meeting there. It was the perfect size. We have about I think 36 or 38 lawyers.
Well, and think about what that does for the Queen. Another company sees that and they go, "What a great place that is for us to have our meeting.
Okay,
Sure.
so,
And see,
20-second plug for the Queen.
Yeah.
If you've got a team of 40 to 60 and you're looking for a meeting space, it's legit.
it's perfect.
Yeah,
It
awesome.
is perfect, man. The movie screen up there is phenomenal for presentations, and man, it does actually feel kind of cool being down there speaking.
I did
It's
the
cool.
downtown what are they, the Bryan Downtown Bryan Association. Well, they're going to kill me. I know it's not DBA, but Destination Bryan
Right.
had their ambassador program, and we did it there, and they have that big screen where they put the projection slides
Yeah.
up on that. It was perfect. It was
Perfect.
great. Yeah, sorry,
Perfect.
it's not.
There you go.
that's-
There you go,
that's good.
Queen Theater.
Yeah, we love supporting our local businesses, and we're in we have 6 different offices, so we're in a lot of different communities. But Jonathan and I live here in Bryan, so yeah, we love doing that kind of stuff. So, in wrapping up on kind of the social media, what advice do you have to young people? It could be really anybody. I think whether it's journalism or business, I think you have to be in social. What kind of advice would you give them to get started?
I have one piece of advice that I was told years ago, and it's so simple, and I know everybody knows it, but I repeat it because it's the most important thing. You can't overshare, and in my post, and again, I'm a news journalist, and so I'm often sharing stories, but you will never see me share my opinion on anything politics or religion. That's as a personal rule, I kind of stay away from that. But what I tell different groups, different businesses, people who are launching their own social media stuff, just don't post anything that you wouldn't want to see on a billboard on the side of Highway 6.
Yeah, or
Be careful.
or have Rusty talking about it 6
Or
and 10.
Rusty talking about it. I just don't do it. If you feel passionate about something and you're ready to keyboard rage about something, a personal thing I do, I will write it on a separate document. I'll put it away, and my rule is come back to it tomorrow. And if I still feel that rage, great, let's go with it. 99% of the time, I look at it and go, God, thank God I didn't post that. What a
That is
idiot.
a good tip.
That might
I love
be
that tip.
the tip of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just
Keyboard rage,
you
24-hour waiting room.
One, just think of the number of stories that are out there of businesses or celebrities or athletes who have ruined their careers because of a tweet,
Right.
because of one thing they said. It can go off the rails. So social media is so wonderful for so many different reasons. It's free marketing. There's the connection and the networking that you can have. It's so fantastic, but it could also be so detrimental to a business, to your career path, to a person, students, interns. Just scrub it. If
Job candidates.
Oh,
if it's questionable, get it off there.
sure.
And
I'm sure you have to-
The one that we hear most. Well, my Facebook's locked down or my Instagram's private.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. I promise you, we'll find a way to figure it out.
Yeah.
Just it's not worth it. A tweet is not worth ruining your career or your business. It's just not. So again, my thing that I tell everybody: if you don't want it on the billboard on Highway 6, it sure the heck doesn't belong on Instagram.
Sure.
Yeah.
And if it does end up there, just own it.
Just
right.
If you make a mistake, and I have made plenty that I have posted, and I walk back on it and I say, you know what? That should not have been there. I should not have said it that way. I didn't provide enough context for what I was posting. Own it. The great thing about social media is again, it's the trust, it's the transparency, it's the authenticity, and when people see you sincerely saying, you know what, that wasn't right, I shouldn't have done that, and that's a learning lesson.
Mm-hmm.
I thank God we have short attention spans as humans now, because
They'll
they move on.
Yeah, but they remember that you owned it.
Yeah,
And then they'll move on.
Yeah, hey, Danny, I might be about to derail us. I don't know what kind of you want to talk about next, but Russ, I'll tell you one of the things I appreciate about when you post something news related is that I believe it's reliable. One of the things that as a consumer of social media that I'm struggling with now is just the absolute incredible amount of misinformation that is out there, things that are just flat out inaccurate.
You and everyone
and people
else. Yeah.
calling it news. And so, when you call something news, it seems to come with an air of credibility or authority, and that's just not true anymore.
And it's more difficult now because you have the major platforms like X and Meta, so Facebook, that have said we're going to take the guardrails down, and maybe we've boxed in too much, and we've maybe silenced more than we should have, and we're going to take those guardrails down and we're going to open it back up to almost pre-2020 social media, for better or worse. And so, what I tell everyone is when you are seeing something that is news related on social media, before you share, before you forward it to your audience, just look at the source.
That's it.
Look at the source.
I had that happen yesterday. Somebody posted something that it was insightful to me. And so I did my own quick fact check to see if any of the major networks were reporting the similar thing. And I couldn't find any evidence that the story was real or true other than, this one post. And so I decided, you know what, I'm not going to let this irritate me, because it's either one, not true, or two, not important enough that any more reputable news agency is picking this story up. So if it's not that important, I'm just going to move on from this one. So
and everybody go ahead.
Well, it goes back to the authenticity, and I like I used to not be on Twitter much, and with now X, but because I followed normal news, but now I'm on it. That's pretty much my main platform that I get a lot of information off of. But one thing that I've realized is there's following, and I don't know what the other tab is. There's another tab that's in
for
your
you,
feed. For you.
For you tab.
I don't mess with that. I don't want the for you. I want the following, because there are people on there that I've authenticated in my mind that I think are good, and I try and get a wide breadth of them, so I feel like I can get some decent information that way. And I hate the algorithms, because they're trying to feed you stuff. That's to me, that's the biggest problem.
They want to feed you what they think you're going to engage with,
which proliferates whatever viewpoint, and you want to stay broad and try and keep a wide viewpoint.
So Danny, are we moving on from social media now?
I don't. It's probably everything's going to touch some social media.
Okay.
If you have,
I was just you had one rule: don't overshare. And I would say my rule would be don't over trust. Make sure that you're careful about who you let have a voice beyond entertainment.
And that's probably the most healthiest thing you can do for your mental stability is because if you're opening up Facebook and you're just enraged at everything that you're seeing, and you don't know who to trust, or maybe you're trusting the wrong source, social media doesn't become enjoyable anymore.
That's it.
And what's the fun?
I'm a natural skeptic, so I'm pretty good at picking up on.
You know what? As a journalist, I listen to both sides. I listen to all sides.
Oh, I think you do a great job, by the way, of staying fairly neutral. I don't know how you do that, but you do a good job of it. Whereas a lot of journalists don't. So I think that's really good. I do think that this whole podcast will be a lot about social, because you're such a figure in that regard. I'm really curious how X is impacting your business of news. There's good skepticism and there's bad skepticism, but what is that doing to the networks?
We're trying to figure it out.
Are you? Okay.
It's what's interesting about X. X has always been kind of the go-to, especially for journalists, for headlines, the things that are happening now, breaking major events. It was an easy place to go where you could see things happening in real time. So it's also where journalists went to break their stories, to share their photos. And it's just become, it's habit that we go to Twitter, X. And now with the way things are and with how X is perceived and consumed, I'm still on it because a majority of, I still have new followers that are coming through on X every week. So why would I jump off of a platform that I'm still growing on? Mm-hmm. Two, here in Bryan College Station, or Texas as a whole, that is still a platform. Here in a university town, X is still greatly used by young people. So where I post on Facebook and most of my engagement, Facebook's great about breaking down your demographics. Most of the people that engage and follow me on Facebook are the highest demo are women from Bryan, 25 to 50 years old. X, it's mostly you're either you're A&M related, you're very political, or you're a college kid. Huh. And I have a lot of young followers and engagers on X. So if there is some news about A&M or something that's more specific for students, I'll post that on X. I won't even bother with Facebook. But there are, to go back to your question, there are a lot of journalists who have said because of what's happening in Washington and Elon and everything else, we're gonna, Elon and the current administration, they take their swipes at legacy media. And so you have a lot of legacy journalists who say, well, we're jumping off this and we're not going to take this. So we're looking at Blue Sky or Threads, which is an extension of, but nothing has really taken off.
It seems like a bad move. It seems like that's a bad move. Why wouldn't you just jump in? And that's what you're saying you're doing.
I'm on X. I've created an account on Blue Sky and I've created an account on Threads. Posts there are auto-populated. So whatever I post on Instagram just automatically gets posted to Threads.
Mm-hmm. I've never even heard of those two, by the way.
They're just...
Did you get a computer?
I have a computer and I've been on the interweb. But,
the Blue Sky thing is new. That came within the last month or two. And I had when people started talking, do you have a Blue Sky account? I don't even know what that is. Yeah. So journalists are struggling right now with not wanting to be on X for whatever reason. I disagree. But they are having a hard time finding an alternative that is getting any traction. So what do they end up doing? They end up going back to X.
Sure.
I think that my thoughts about media right now, in the last 5 years, let's just say in the last 5 years, we've kind of blown everything up in our viewing habits, how we consume news, how we consume entertainment. We're doing streaming now. Our linear numbers for the television are decreasing, not because people aren't watching us anymore. They're just watching us in different ways.
Right.
So they're watching us on Roku and the apps and everything else. In the last 5 years, you've seen a lot of media companies and social media companies merge, blow it up, merge, figure this out. Let's bundle this. Let's bundle that. Let's move this and that. I think what we're seeing from this year moving on is dust settling. Mm-hmm. And we've now figured out, okay, how much are people consuming on podcast? How much are people relying on social media? And who's still watching television? What are those numbers? And how do we march forward with our plan to execute, how to deliver news, where to meet the audience? Of course, nobody's sitting down at 6 and 10 every night with dinner to watch the newscast. So where are they? When are they getting online? How are they streaming us? And I think the last 5 years has been the blow up phase of everything. And now I think we've settled now to where we're beginning to see more long-term trends of how people are consuming their media, their information, and their entertainment. And now that we've kind of figured out, okay, who has a slice of how much of the pie? Let's get a game plan going on how we move forward. For me, for social media, I find that people are latching on more on Facebook and Twitter and on podcasting, that they want their news from someone that they can trust, not a company or a media organization, but who, as a person, as an individual, can you trust? And I think that can spill out to any industry or business out there. It's no longer what is the service, it's who's giving you that service that you want to do business with.
Right. No, that's very good point. I'm going to transition a little bit into storytelling because that is something that Jonathan and I are super passionate about, and you're an excellent storyteller. So I want to hear about how do you put these stories together? How do you get your message across about the story? Because you said, media time is limited.
Yeah.
And so you've got to get a story out there. And I've had the great pleasure to work with you so many times on the various Be Remarkables and telling people stories. So I want to just touch on that because I think it's a critical skill that any business has to have as you're being authentic and you're building trust with the community and you're out there doing things. There's a story. Everybody has a story. You've got to tell it. And so tell us, where do you start? How do you keep it concise? How do you choose the parts that you're going to put in there? And just tell us a little bit about that.
I think my strategy when I'm putting a story together is remembering that your audience, whether they're watching on television or they're watching on their cell phone on an app, you got to remember your audience is distracted. And we try to remember that when we're putting our stories together. So as I'm putting a Be Remarkable story together, what I'm looking for when we go out into the field, noise, emotion. Are people excited and tears are coming down? And who's a passionate speaker? What are great visual elements that I'm always, when we're out in the field and we're shooting our videos, I'm always looking for those things. What I'm aiming for is the mom who's at home at 6 p.m. making dinner, and she's got little Johnny screaming in the corner, or maybe dad's on the phone scrolling, checking sports scores. What can I put on that television set that's going to get their attention? And it all comes down to great visuals, compelling sound, and emotional storytelling. The sound bites that get you. People who are passionate when they're speaking, and it's almost like making a cake. You want to put the right ingredients in for an award-winning dish. A really great dish for storytelling, for news, is one that has great visuals, compelling sound, and real people and people who are expressive. And the goal at the end of the day is, as people are at home or they're scrolling on their phone, what's going to get them to stop, to go, wait, what is that? And so we have to use visuals, we have to use sound, and the story has to be just easy to consume. One thing that television, newspapers for sure, but television, we've tried to really mold our new journalists into doing is, when you're putting together a story, and if we assign a reporter to go to City Hall to do a story on property taxes, that's not exciting television. So you better come to the table and explain it to me like I'm a sixth grader, why this is important. And so a lot of it is how you deliver it. Are you being conversational? Is what you're saying easy to digest? Because again, I'm helping little Johnny over here with homework, or I'm making dinner. So I don't have time to sit and think, wait, what was that? The numbers you're throwing at me, I'm having a hard time following. Keep it simple. Keep it visually exciting. The sound better be there. It should be a thumb stopper. In our newsroom, we like to call them, what's a thumb stopper?
Stop the scroll.
You want to stop the scroll and go, whoa, what's that? And so that's why graphics are important. Visual elements are, so it's not always video. Sometimes graphics work better.
Sure.
What I try to tell our young journalists is, you better write that story as if you're writing to a middle school. And it's not to dumb it down. It's just, we know that our audience is busy.
Sure.
And they've got little time to consume it. Now we've got the ability to give you the resources to go and look at it with more context, more information. Sure. That's why we have web, and that's why we have web stories and social media. But if we're just talking about television and scrolling on social media, It better be quick, it better be easy, and it better be compelling.
Rusty, that's not that different than a trial, except for we've got these poor jurors, they're trapped.
Yeah.
And they're making a whopping $35 a day for being
so right.
there.
And if you're not a good storyteller, then you're losing them.
That's it. And we're not seeing them scroll with their phone in their hand, but mentally, they're scrolling.
The glaze.
They're scrolling. You got the scroll glaze going on. And so all of those elements that you just described, which I think in our business, the emotional aspect of it is most important. That's what you're teaching young journalists is the same thing that we're teaching young lawyers, is about captivating that jury and telling them a story that they care enough about to get involved at the end of the trial when it's their turn to go back and deliberate. In our profession, the jury, they get to finish the story. You tell your story and then you're off the air.
True, yeah.
For us, we tell our story about 99%, and then the most vital 1%, the jury tells us. And so those elements that you described, they're critical. Danny, we should grab that portion of the podcast and put it in our new attorney training, because it's no different. You've got to grab them for what? 2 minutes, 2.5? How long is a story?
An average of a minute 30.
Minute and a half, right? 90 seconds. We've got 8 hours of attention to hold.
You think about the thumb stopper thing, you've got 2 seconds to grab somebody's attention.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
On TV, we like to say we got about 15 seconds to get you before you realize, I
move on.
We're going to decide it's either important to me or not.
I'm changing the channel or I'm going back to my phone.
That's it.
And we've got to grasp people quickly.
One thing I want to add here, though, is the prep. Like, you have to know a lot about the story before you can give them the 15 seconds. Yeah. Or, for us, it's really understanding the uniqueness.
You have to become an expert.
Absolutely.
In everything.
And that takes a tremendous amount of time.
Yeah.
Again, to tell a really remarkable story, you have to know all the aspects of the story. So I'm sure, again, going back to all the extra time you put in, your 15 seconds or 30 seconds or a minute and a half, if you really have a big story, you probably put hours into the research. And I've seen you, I've actually seen you come out and we'll do a story, and then you'll go, I got to get some more footage on this, and I'll see you behind the scenes saying, hey, can I come back tomorrow? And if the audience doesn't realize this, Rusty, he oftentimes has the camera. And I remember one of the early Be Remarkable was like, whoa, wait a minute.
Where's your crew?
I'm like, you want me to ask the questions? I thought you were asking the questions, which was really fun to be there with you and do those. But Rusty shoots the spots. I mean, and then you go back and you edit the spots, and then you go back and get more information for the spots. We're
all a one-man machine in newsrooms, and that's newsrooms across the country. Long gone are the days of the reporter and the camera guy and the sound machine. Everybody kind of shoots their own stories now. We're all journalists, and the technology's made that easier. So I have a smaller camera and we can kind of do everything. But I started in TV behind the camera, so I do. The TV station has said, do you want a photographer to send with you when you go do Be Remarkable? No, I know what I'm looking for. Like when we go do Be Remarkable, I know exactly what I need to put that story together. So I like shooting the stories myself.
I can see that being kind of fun. You're more agile. You can kind of just go more quickly to various things.
And I know how I'm going to write the story too. So if somebody's, if Danny's asking the recipient, and you see that recipient start to get emotional, I know this is it. This is going to be the story. So I'm focused and zooming in, and it's just when you shoot these things, you are just hyper aware of everything happening around you. What are some good cutaway shots? What's the sound that I'm hearing? Who's grabbing hands with one another? Let's get a shot of the hand holding. You're just constantly scanning the room to look at what everybody's doing, because those are the ingredients that we're going to make for that delicious dish.
Yeah, awesome.
Great stuff, Rusty. Thank you so much for being here at the On the Verge podcast. I'm just going to close us out with, I think my biggest takeaway from this conversation with you is just there's really not a work-life balance in a professional career. There is just a merger of life and work that happen together, and it starts in the morning and it ends at for you 11 o'clock at night. But it's about a passion. I could see it, and I'm glad this is videoed because we could see your passion come out when we started talking about your work. And for anybody that's looking for a career, to have that, what a blessing to be that passionate about your job, because it's just not work. And I think that's a true key to always being on the verge, is finding the next thing and having the energy to do it. So thanks for sharing today, Rusty.
Hey, guys.
Yeah, great to see you. And that's that.
That's that.
We pulled the cord.